Welcome back, True Seeker. I tried to communicate this last night in real time. The ritual that opened the 2025 NFL season with Dak Prescott being spit on by Jalen Carter on Cowboy Carter's 44th birthday in a game that finished with 44 points, a difference of 24-20 on 4-date numerology. Of course, Dak wears 4, a number of death, reminding that it was his mother's birthday. And of course, Dak has lost his mother and his brother by the numbers, which I've covered over the years that I've been here. RIP to them. But that lightning delay with 4:44 on the clock, when Beyonce, Cowboy Carter's married to Jay-Z, who has a 4:44 album, and he's partnered with the NFL. Again, we were looking at the Beyonce connection before the game, and it had us more on the Cowboys side of the narrative, and they did win the bet. They were a 7.5-point underdog. They lost by 4 on 4-date numerology, which means they won the bet. And again, just the power of this knowledge. You know, we're looking at the rig connected to Beyonce before the games even played. We were talking about things like how Jimmy Carter died 4 days after Beyonce did her Cowboy Carter performance last year. And Jimmy Carter died the day that the last time the Cowboys and Eagles played each other, which was on the state of Texas's birthday. And you might recall that game that night on Sunday Night Football between Georgia, the Falcons, where Jimmy Carter's from, the 4th state. Not to mention Jalen Carter played football at Georgia, which we'll get to. And they were playing the nation's capital. The Commanders, now coached by Dan Quinn, who used to coach the Falcons. And Dan Quinn picked up his 54th career win that night. And I gave that one to free for everybody. I said, Dan Quinn's picking up 54 tonight. Jimmy Carter equals 54. Go back and look at the score of that game. 54 points in that game after Jimmy Carter died, where they paid tribute to him. But Jimmy Carter left the presidency 44 years ago in 1981, the year that Beyonce was born, who's now Cowboy Carter, as they do this massive 44 ritual on her 44th birthday to start the season. So let's go through this piece by piece, and then we're going to hit the lightning piece, because, of course, this happened on Thursday, named after Jupiter, who is Zeus, who is the lightning god. And, again, Jupiter, Zeus, Jesus, Jay-Z, Jehovah, Jay-Z, Jupiter, Zeus. Here, let's put it all together here. If that wasn't clear enough for you, let's put it together with some visuals. So, okay, Dak, number 4, playing on 4-date numerology, gives it all and loses by 4, covering the bet, which in a way was a win for the Cowboys. It might not go down as a win, but, you know, Stephen A. Smith in the morning said, they're going to lose by at least 14. We knew he was wrong. We thought it was going to be a pretty close game. But let's just go through it all, you guys. Beyonce turns 44, right? The word spit equals 44 in Gematria. Again, if you're new here, if somehow you've stumbled onto this video and you haven't heard about this work that I've been putting out every day for 12 years, helping people pad their pockets off rig sports and a million other things. Again, all of the American sports are credited to Freemasons. In the course of football, it's credited to Walter Camp, a Freemason. Freemasonry is based in Kabbalah. Within Kabbalah, there's a component of coding numbers into words. Numbers are very important to Masonry and Kabbalah. They etch on the Masonic temple, all is number. And that's why it's number rituals every single game. And if you have the right clues and see the narrative, you can nail exact scores. You can nail outcomes. You can nail player props. We thought there was a great chance number 33, the running back for the Cowboys, would have 2 touchdowns last night. That was a big payout. I thought Jalen Hurts was going to have a multi-touchdown game last night. I knew that it was lock city for Barkley to get his 49th regular season rushing touchdown on 4-9. And I showed his box score last night in the video. At halftime, he had 49 rushing yards, averaging 4.9 yards a carry, recording his 49th regular season touchdown on the date 4th day of 9th month, when both Dallas and Eagles equal 49. But anyway, in this practice of coding numbers into words, spit equals 44. Jalen Carter spits on the Cowboy, again on Cowboy Carter's 44th birthday, who was connected to Jimmy Carter last year, who left the presidency the year that she was born. And Jalen Carter is born on 4-4. He's 24 years old, which ended up being the winning score, 24-20. But Jalen Carter born on 4-4. And that's a fateful day in history for Black history, right? That's the day Martin Luther King Jr. was killed after speaking out against the U.S. military, Well, if you don't know, MLK spoke out against the U.S. military a year to the day of his assassination. You should look up his speech. It's called Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break Silence, given April 4th, 1967, killed a year to the day later. But notice Jalen Carter also equals 44, like Georgia, the fourth state where Jimmy Carter hails from. Jalen Carter played college football for Georgia. And in case you forgot this last year, just to recap, this is last year's post. Beyonce's Cowboy Carter performance in Texas and the death of Jimmy Carter 4 days later on Texas's establishment anniversary. I mean, just think about it, right? Just think about it. From the album's release to the performance was 271 days, the 58th prime. Yesterday's game had 58 date numerology. And remember, the Eagles' last field goal was a 58-yarder. Again, I just got to make this point one more time. Kobe Bryant, his team was the Eagles, right? Kobe Bryant dead at 41 while traveling from Catholic Mass on the Pope's 41st day of his age. Kobe dead 157 days from his birthday. 44 days earlier, Kobe was in the headlines for helping out with a car crash. 113 days from his birthday. Kobe Bryant's death was synced with Mr. 58, Pope Francis. You see how Kobe Bryant's 58, like Pope Francis, who became a Jesuit in 58? Not to mention Los Angeles Lakers is 58, and LA is the land of stars, and the word star is 58, and even the plural stars is 58. If you're new here, these are the 4 base ciphers of the English alphabet, right? The alphabetic order, A is 1 up to Z is 26. The reverse alphabetic order, the alphabetic order with numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with numerology. 4 base ciphers. We've been talking about this for over a decade. I learned about this in Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages, a book published in 1926. But notice, Cowboy Carter, also 58. So yesterday, the date numerology was 58, which breaks down to 13, which breaks down to 4. You get that by adding 9 plus 4 plus 20 plus 25, which equals 58. There's a small way to do it too. 9 plus 4 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5, which is 22, like Eagles. The Eagles win on the 22 date numerology. 22 is 2 plus 2 is 4, breaking down to 4, like we get a 4-point game. Eagles 49, Dallas 49, playing on the 4th of September as Barkley gets his 49th career rushing touchdown. Saquon Barkley, career rushing touchdowns. Again, I did a video on this last night showing his halftime box score. Again, he had 49 rushing yards at the half, 4.9 yards a carry. He had 10 attempts with his first touchdown recorded. Lock City for the touchdown. But yeah, this ritual last year with Beyonce was crazy. And she did it at the Ravens-Texans game for Christmas. And notice Baltimore is 148 and 58 like Cowboy Carter as they crushed Houston. Beyonce, Janelle, Knowles, Carter, also 148. So this was last year's ritual. But now they really pay tribute to her on this 58 date numerology on her birthday to open the season the way it falls this year, okay? And remember what they did at the game where Jimmy Carter died? They announced in the 4th quarter that Michael Penix had become engaged to his fiancée, Olivia Carter, in the day Jimmy Carter dies. As the Falcons are playing the nation's capital, facing their old coach, who, again, picked up his 54th career win in that game. And Jimmy Carter's 54 and 72 like Jesuit order. And that, again, that's who gave us the calendar and the language and runs the show. And I'll make that point with what they did last night, how no doubt they're responsible for last night's ritual. The Jesuits are the daddies of Freemasonry. Freemasonry is probably more important to the American sports, but understand the Jesuits are the thing that sits, again, if it's a pyramid, a hierarchy, the Jesuits, remember, the Illuminati was founded by a Jesuit, Adam Weishaupt, who had plans to infiltrate Freemasonry. A lot of the rites of Freemasonry are written by Jesuit priests. The Jesuits are the daddies of Masonry. But yeah, Michael Penix gets engaged to Olivia Carter, and he's got a 5/8 birthday. That's the day that Pope Leo the 14th, who went to school in Philly at Villanova, Pope Leo the 15th, 58. And, if you just do Pope Leo, it's the 24-105. Remember how there was that shooting hoax at Villanova where he went to school? That was 105 days after he became Pope and 24 days before his upcoming birthday, which is September 14th. Anyway, Penix, who played football in Seattle where Quinn used to coach. Anyway, there's a lot to this, but Yesterday, you see how Michael Penix is 119? Yesterday's ritual was 119 days after his birthday. Again, he was part of this Cowboy Carter ritual. So I'm just showing you how he factors in, who plays in Georgia, right? Because the whole NFL is one big script. And we're going to talk about how last night's lightning ritual with Dak staying on 213 career touchdowns leads into tonight's game with LA, the 213 area code, when the other LA team just won the Super Bowl on February 13th. But LA Chargers with the Lightning Bolts hosting the Chiefs. And it looks like it's probably going to be a 59 ritual in both games. Last night, the Eagles got their 59th win over the Cowboys. And again, they got their Super Bowl 59 rings last night. It can be a 59 tonight between the Chargers and the Chiefs as well. Cowboys record, or let's do it this way. Eagles record versus Cowboys, including playoffs. Look what they got last night, you guys, is they got the Super Bowl 59 rings. They got their 59th head-to-head win. And you know what else is amazing? Look at this. It was the opening game of the 106th season, right? Eagles home record versus NFC East. All time, including playoffs. Look at this, you guys. Look how they do this. Look how scripted it is. Oh, wait. It's not including the playoffs. It's in the regular season. My bad. In the regular season, the Eagles last night got their 106th win in their division to open the 106th season on the day that Armani is announced dead, when their logo is the eagle. And remember, Armani brand was founded in 75 during the 56th NFL season. He died on the 56th day of his age on the opening day of the 106th season with the Armani Eagle, as the Eagles get their 106th home win in their division. I mean, again, we went over all this stuff before game time, you guys. But yeah, just how perfect all this is. Michael Penix, Olivia Carter, Washington, D.C., all perfect overlap. Marry me. Do you remember at the end of this same game, Jimmy Carter was the 39th president? This was all announced the day that Jimmy Carter died. Do you remember at the end of the game, number 39 proposes to his girlfriend on the field the day that Jimmy Carter, number 39, is dead? Here, it was Jeremy Reeves, number 39, proposed to his girlfriend on the field of the Washington Commanders. It's just, I mean, this happened last year after over a decade of already showing you how this stuff just goes on day after day, week after week. And now we're opening the NFL season this way with the Armani death and this crazy ritual. Here, again, just in case we didn't get lost in the weeds. On 4-date numerology, number 4, Dak Prescott gets spit on by Jalen Carter, who went to school in Georgia, the 4th state. He spits on Dak on the anniversary of his mother's birthday, Dak's mother, who's dead. But he does it on Cowboy Carter's 44th birthday, right? Again, Jalen Carter born on 4-4. His name equals 44, like spit. Georgia's 44, the 4th state. We get a 44-point game with no scoring. No scoring after the lightning break, right? The lightning break that happens at 4:44, like it's the Jay-Z album. When lightning equals 44, again, Jay-Z literally has the album 444. You know what's interesting about this? I mean, maybe this is a coincidence or maybe not. You see how June 30th leaves 184 days left in the year? Pennsylvania establishment date is March 4th, right? Just like how Pickens, who played for the Steelers and now is a Cowboy, who returned to Pennsylvania. It was his birthday yesterday. Notice that, from the state of Pennsylvania's birthday to the lightning thing last night was 184 days. I find that interesting. The 444 album came out on the day, leaving 184 days left in the year. Then this ritual in Pennsylvania. Never mind, it's the 181st day of the year too, right? That's the 42nd prime number they stamp all over Black history. I mean, not to mention Black history equals 181. But we made some new history last night. Maybe the craziest script ever. But yes, Jay-Z with the 444 album. The game paused at 4:44 with 44 points on the board. And here's the other thing I got to say about again, Jalen Carter being 24. Remember the day that Kobe died, who was an Eagles fan, number 24, what he finished his career with. Do you remember that same day Beyonce got her 24th Grammy at the Staples Center, the same day he died? And in the Bugaboo music video, do you remember how all this is connected with Kobe and Beyonce and the Bugaboo music video? Do you remember all this stuff that we covered like 5 years ago? But yeah, Beyonce got her 24th Grammy the day that Kobe died. and in the building that he played basketball in. Man, I got a lot of posts on all this stuff, but right here, I just got to go back to this one, just how crazy this stuff is. 24th Grammy, R.I.P. Kobe. Of course, Lakers went on to win the finals that year by the numbers. Kobe equals 33 like Beyonce, like number 33 had the first touchdown, 2 touchdowns of the game for the Cowboys last night. We thought he was a good candidate for a multi-touchdown game. He got 13 for his career. TNF loves 13. But again, Kobe died 157 days from his birthday, like Kobe Bryant. The word accent's also 157. The Writings on the Wall album with Destiny's Child, which Beyonce's old group, that came out on the day leaving 157 days left in the year, and Bugaboo's on that, and Kobe's in the music video. You know, it stands out to me that it came out on 27/7, like 277, the 59th prime, because Black Mamba's 59 and his Eagles just won Super Bowl 59. Probably not an accident. But Bugaboo, 126. What day did Kobe die? January 26, 126, the anniversary of Bear Bryant's death. And remember, Bryant equals 26 forwards, 37 in reverse. Kobe died on the 37th anniversary of Bear Bryant. Football equals 83. Bear Bryant died in 83. Helicopter crash equals 83. The Pope was 83 years old at the time. It was all synced with the Pope. Destiny's Child also 74. Kobe died during the 74th season. The Lakers ended up winning the finals on Father-Daughter Day. Anyway, had to hit the 24 piece. Just a little reminder about how deep all this stuff is. But again, 444 for a lightning break with 44 points on the board when lightning's 44, but we're not done. Again, it's about forwards and backwards, right? Jay-Z. Now, he says he got the name from if you've been to New York, there's a subway line that's the Jay-Z train, and they say that's where he got his name. But we all know Jay-Z acts like he's a god, and Hova and Jehovah. And again, Jupiter is Zeus, right? Jupiter is Zeus. J-Z. Jupiter, Zeus. Sounds like Jesus. Again, the New Testament was written in Greek. The Greeks celebrated Zeus, the lightning god, which Thursday is named after, as we get this lightning break. Was there even any lightning? Can somebody in the Pennsylvania area tell me if there was even any lightning, or did they just say, F you fans, you're going to stay here for, and what did they say? It was I think I heard them say last night that it was a 64-minute delay. I think I heard them say that. Spit is 64, 44. It's also 19 like Zeus. But hold up. Let me check something real quick. Jay-Z's got that 19 and 17 like Zeus also. Jay-Z, 17, 19 like Zeus. Hold up. Jay-Z is, don't overlook the 46 either, like Thursday. It's another Thursday number. But anyway, look at it, you guys. Jay-Z's 55 right now. Let me just scroll down to that real quick. Because lightning, when you run it the other way, is 55, okay? Thursday Night Football is 257, the 55th prime. They synced up this ritual with Jay-Z's 55th birthday. But notice, it was 274 days after his birthday on the 4th of December. Remember, Diddy born on November 4th. Jay-Z's born the day that Fred Hampton was killed. Anyway, 274 days after Jay-Z's birthday, Isus hominum salvator 274. That's the Jesuit motto, which means for the greater glory of God. Like Zeus is that Greek god, the lightning god. God 55. Lightning bolts from heaven 55. Some people see Satan as their god. You know, Satan is also 55. And remember, Marilyn Manson has a song about this, kind of alluding to gematria and how God and Satan equal the same numbers. If you don't know about that song, look it up. Marilyn Manson, say 10, and instead of spelling Satan, he spells S-A-Y and then 10 for 10. Notice how Satan is 55 and 10, and so is God, 55 and 10. And you see how Satan's 35, like Thursday, like the number that's typically the ritual. Now, I got to warn you guys, for people who aren't on Patreon, 35 Thursday has crushed for us forever. But the second half of last season, 35 Thursday became bait all of a sudden. We'd never seen it before. And there was one true 35 on the board last night. And had Dak Prescott won, he would have got his 35th career road win. Now, we knew that there was a lot for the Eagles, including that Armani death and the 106 and a bunch of other things. We were still thinking Cowboys had a shot because of 35 Thursday if it came back. So you got to beware this year. 35 Thursday, they might treat it as bait, but at the same time, it might also get you on the winning side of narratives, like the Cowboys did cover the spread last night. And again, we'll continue to monitor it. But if you're not on Patreon, I'm just throwing that warning out there that the NFL might have finally pulled out the rug on 35 Thursday, because, yours truly been putting out the word about 35 Thursday for a long time. And a lot of people, man, have single-handedly changed their life off 35 Thursday. But yeah, again, Lightning's got the 55-44 connection. And I think I forgot to put a screenshot up here because I just want to show that the word military is also 55 and 44. Remember, the military put out the document, Weather is a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025. This is real. This is from the Air Force. This was published in the middle of the 90s. And again, the military's been experimenting with the weather for a long time. But just think that the first game of 2025 just happens to have this weather phenomenon that's just so perfectly synced with Beyonce and being 44 and her husband with this 444 album, who's Jay-Z like Jupiter Zeus. Just think about it. I would like to hear from people on the ground if there was even any lightning, or if they just did this as this total joke. Stop the clock at 4:44. It's time for the lightning delay. Because that's what it looked like. I still remember the other year when John Gruden was still coaching the Raiders and they were playing in the stadium and they delayed the game. He was playing the Chargers, right? It was Raiders-Chargers. And they had a huge delay for lightning and they were playing in the stadium. And John Gruden was getting mad and yelling at the refs and pointing up at the ceiling. By the way, guys, the other thing that I point out for the game, I said, look for 14 to be a theme in the game. I forgot to look up the ref. The ref was number 14 last night. We're in the time of Pope Leo the 14th. Notice the score was tied up at 7-all, 14 points. Then it was tied up at 14-all with ref 14 on the field. Again, you guys, it's just the same stuff like always. They sync things up with the people in charge and the people in high places. Remember, you're on the Catholic Church's calendar. The only reason that we're saying today is September 5th is 2025. The only reason we're saying that is because of the Catholic Church, who gave us the 52-week calendar named after a pope, and they do sync everything up with the pope. But yeah, my biggest disappointment last night was I thought Dak was going to throw 2 touchdowns. Philly's the 215 area code, right? And the area code's normally smack, smack, smack. Instead, Dak threw new touchdowns last night, and I got the joke once he did. I said, once the lightning thing happened, he threw out. I said, I see what they're doing. He stayed on 213 going into tomorrow's game with LA hosting. By the way, the Harbaugh brothers just met with Trump 213 days before the Super Bowl. Of course, one of them's coaching in LA. He used to coach in San Francisco, who's hosting. But, yeah, LA in 213. So, tonight, later tonight in Sao Paulo, you got the Lightning Bolts from LA hosting the 213 area code. It's all one big script, you guys. And watch, they'll pay tribute to a lot of these numbers throughout the NFL week. So realize, really, what pro sports are is a rigged joke, but it's also like a puzzle. And if you can see the riddle and the pieces of the puzzle, the way they fit together, it can lead you to like, okay, I see what they're doing now. I got it. Okay. Thanks for all the clues. Now I know what to look for the rest of week 1. But yeah, Dak stayed on 213 touchdowns as LA Lightning Bolts will host tonight versus the Chiefs, where another 59 thing can happen in the head-to-head. Of course, one team won Super Bowl 59 and the other lost. But yeah, the one other thing to think twice about also is you had the 44-story mass shooting in New York where the NFL headquarters is. So that was a 44 thing as well. Of course, I guess just to show you how, if you're new here and you just stumbled across this page, I've been educated about this stuff, written books about it, everything. 44 is a big shooting number, right? So the shooter's name was Shane D. Tamura. They put it out in the media, 44, like shooting, like mass shooter, like gunfire. Again, 44-story building. Jessica Tisch is the NYPD police commissioner. Her father owns the New York Giants. Yeah, so he had an M4 rifle. M is the 13th letter. The numerology of 13 is 1 + 3 is 4. So in a way, he had a 4.4 rifle. You see what they did there at the 44-story building? That was the day before Dak's birthday. But yeah, there could be a tie-in with that as well, since it was so 44. And then we start off the NFL season with the ultimate 44 ritual on Beyonce's 44th birthday, paying tribute to Jay-Z's 444 album. Anyway, we will be back on Patreon today doing another exclusive NFL live stream. I'll also be back on Patreon in a little bit covering all the baseball and WNBA and everything today. We do 2 streams a day when we need to for football season. Morning stream for the other sports games, and then later stream for the NFL. So again, if you guys want to get on Patreon, get this kind of intel before the games, the link's in the description of every video. It's patreon.com/Zachary K. Hubbard. If you just search Patreon, Patreon, and then write out my name, Zachary K. Hubbard, it'll show up in your web search. But the link is in the description right at the top. If you know how to open up the description below the video, it's right there. So, yeah. We look to have a beautiful week 1, and we'll use all the clues they gave us in their total spit script, where really they spit on the fans and they wasted their time. And I mean, that's why it really is sick. You know, they know that keeping people up extra late is not good for their health. You know, they're up an extra hour because the game's finishing late. People on the East Coast, you know, you guys, when you don't get enough sleep, like if you're men, it lowers your testosterone rate. Your body holds more water. You get fatter. None of your processes in your body work as well. Your immune system can be compromised. That's why they want you up watching all this stupid late night TV. Again, everything is a manipulation of you. They want unhealthy, dumb people. You know why? Because you're easier to take advantage of. You're easier to make a buck off of. Point blank, period. So I remember last night they were showing the people file back into the stands. And I mean, you could just see it on TV. Just a lot of them, just fat slobs moving slowly down the stairs. They had like some huge drink of something in their hand. It's like, I'm sure it's a bunch of sugar water. It's like, does this fat slob who can barely make it down the stairs need to be drinking a 500-ounce Pepsi at what was it, 11 p.m. local time? I mean, God. You just see a nation of dopes. You just see it right in front of you. They don't know a damn thing about anything, and they can't see how rigged these games are. Somebody left a comment, if the games were rigged, how come the fans wouldn't notice? I just thought, is this a real comment? Because they're a bunch of retards. That's why. I noticed when I was a child how rigged the games were. Growing up in Portland, Oregon, watching how you couldn't even breathe on Michael Jordan, who was at the game last night. He's developed quite a gut, too. He must have been up drinking the late-night Pepsis. Come on, MJ. MJ should be – MJ – I don't like how MJ has that big, fat gut out there. MJ should be looking like an icon until death. But anyway, he does have a big, fat gut now. He was on the TV. And by the way, MJ's not the GOAT. None of these people are. The whole league was scripted around Michael Jordan. You could see it as a child. I could see it. You couldn't touch the guy. You couldn't breathe on the guy. Meanwhile, he could claw somebody's eyes out. He could put Clyde Drexler's eyeballs on the floor, and it would be a no call. No, you got to be a moron to not see these games are rigged. So anyway, we'll leave it there for now. We'll be back on Patreon shortly. Shout out to Kuprintis Ferguson, and I will keep educating. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Until next time, Truth Seeker.